Hi, I'm Michelle Chalfant, psychotherapist, holistic life coach, and human just like you, learning to navigate life's challenges. With over 25 years experience, I teach people how to get healthy using the adult chair model. The adult chair model is where simple psychology meets grounded spirituality, and it teaches us how to become healthy adults. From anxiety and depression to codependency and relationship issues, you can use the adult chair for just about anything. Each week, I share practical tips, tools, and advice from myself and a wide range of experts on how to get unstuck, how to live authentically, and how to truly love yourself, all while sitting in your adult chair. Welcome to the Adult Chair Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Adult Chair Podcast, where we talk all about how to live as emotionally healthy adults. I am Michelle Chalfant, thrilled to be here with you today on this second week of January. I was just thinking about my birthday, and you're going to understand why when I tell you who the guest is today. It is January, second week. Actually, I'm leaving today for Charleston to do our coaching certification program. The coaching certification program and the master coaching certification both kick off actually today. So we're very excited to be kicking that off. Heading to Charleston, one of my favorite places. So yeah, I like being at the beach. So we're going to be there, and hopefully the weather's going to be nice for us. Anyway, I've got a really fun guest on today, Rachel Lang. I had her on a few years ago. She does many things, but I wanted to have her on because I wanted her to talk about something fun, astrology. So just hold on. I want to talk to you for a minute about astrology and why I wanted to have her on. Astrology is not as woo-woo. It can be woo-woo, but it doesn't have to be, because astrology is actually very scientific or even mathematical. And it blows my mind how and I've done this for years. I remember even sitting with clients one-on-one, asking them these questions. When I feel more emotional or more angry, whether that be angry or more triggered around things or more teary-eyed or whatever the heck it is, I love when I ask others around me, and I'll say, whether I had clients, and I do it a lot now because I do a lot of work with the coaches or in the membership or whatever's going on, I'll say, hey, how's everybody doing? Does anyone else feel and fill in the blank? And I cannot tell you, the majority of the people on the call will say, oh my gosh, yes, I've been so emotional. What the heck is going on? Da, 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 da. And I'm not an astrology expert by any means, but I know enough to be dangerous. Let's say that. And I'm able to say to them, that's because it's a full moon tomorrow, or that's because this planet is here and it's creating a lot of our shadow stuff that's coming up. So I wanted to have Rachel on to kind of break this down for us a little bit more, because where the planets are, and everyone talks about like, oh, Mercury is in retrograde. This is why we shouldn't sign contracts. This is why I feel emotional. This is why my shadow stuff's coming up. That absolutely happens. So that's why I wanted to have Rachel on to really break down what astrology is and how we can use it in our lives. Because it's a lot more than just your weekly astrology, like your weekly horoscope. For example, I'm a Scorpio and my cousin is a Scorpio, but I'm more of a true blue Scorpio than my cousin is. It's because she's got different planets that are affecting her sign. So we get into that today. So I really wanted to have her on just to kind of break it down. And it's so incredible to me that, I think I said this on the show, that you can take a brand new baby just born, and you can look at what time they were born and where they were born. And you can look at and predict based on planets what their likes, dislikes, probable careers will be just by where the planets are. Like, it's really crazy. And that's all math and scientific. This is not woo-woo. This is really hardcore. You can predict this kind of stuff. So anyway, that's what Rachel and I get into. And I want to remind you guys, as we jump into the new year, this is sort of exciting news, maybe not. I don't know if you're already in the Adult Chair closed group. I wanted to let you all know, I created that group so many years ago just to create a really safe space for people to get vulnerable. Like oftentimes we can't do that in our personal lives. So I wanted to create a space where people can go ask questions, get feedback, etc., from this lens of the adult chair method and model. And I wanted to let you all know I'm going to be going in there a lot more, doing some live Q&As, and it's all free, of course, and just connecting with you guys some more. I've kind of let you have that group on your own, and I'm getting in there a lot more than I have been. So come join us. And that's the Adult Chair Closed Facebook group. I would love to connect with all of you. Okay. So let me tell you a little bit about Rachel Lang. She is an astrologer, a psychic medium, the author of Modern Day Magic, 8 Simple Rules to Realize Your Power and Shape Your Life. She's also a member of the Ojai City Council and works at the intersection of spirituality and social engagement. She started her private practice in 2006 and works with individuals and businesses. She writes a monthly horoscope column for the Omega Institute and Club Magic Hour, and she contributes to publications like Well and Good and Women's Health. Rachel leads retreats, teaches classes, and hosts workshops on topics such as astrology for creatives and psychic mediumship development. She's on the core team of the Relationships and Astrology Certification course, serves as the outreach director for the National Council for Geocosmic Research, and is the vice president of the Los Angeles chapter. So it is with great pleasure that I'm going to welcome right now Rachel Lang to the show. Here we go. Welcome to the Adult Chair Podcast, Rachel Lang.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It is just such a joy to be with you again. I'm so honored and so grateful that you asked me back on the show.
I know we were just talking and I said, wait, was it, I wish I'd looked up what show you were on. I want to say it was 100. I mean, it was in January. I remember that. And it must have been 4 or 5 years ago when I had you on for the yearly prediction. Like, tell us what's going to happen throughout the year. So it's been too long. This needs to be like an annual event. So
love that. I love that.
Thank you for being on in January and letting us know about what might be happening this year, but more, well, kind of in a scale, how do I say this? We're going to be really vulnerable today, or I'm going to be vulnerable because you're also going to be reading some things off of my chart that I don't know. Like you and I haven't talked about this yet. So I'm opening myself up today.
And I love that, Michelle, because in opening yourself up, hopefully someone will listen to this and they'll hear something. And anytime we open ourselves up, we have the opportunity to really help others and to help others open up. So your courage is going to be contagious. I just know it.
Okay. When I was a little worried, I was like, okay, let's do me. Well, thank you again. We were talking earlier also about, we're going to really break things down today. And that's so much of what I do on all the shows. And I look forward to having you help people really understand what astrology is and what it is not.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because a lot of people that I talk to, they're like, oh, woo woo or this, and I'm like, no, it's kind of mathematical. It's like, it's pretty darn, actually, it's pretty darn grounded. So let's start out with that. Like, tell us about what is astrology? What is it?
Mm-hmm. So astrology, I agree with you. It is the least woo-woo of all of the things that are considered woo. Mm-hmm. And I think actually Carl Jung said that, and this is not a direct quote. Don't quote me on this, but he said that eventually astrology will that basically astrology is to the future what psychology was to the past, in that it's a study of archetypes. It's a study of the correlation between the movement of heavenly bodies, so planetary cycles, which are, like you said, very scientific, very mathematical. Mm-hmm. We've been tracking these for thousands and thousands of years. If there wasn't astrology, there wouldn't be astronomy or the science of astrophysics as we know it now. So astrology is the study of those cycles and how they relate to us on Earth. On a psychological level, if we look at theories like ideas of synchronicity, or if we look at, I think synchronicity best explains it, that there are each planet in each astrological sign has layers and layers of meaning and symbolism. And we can apply those to every aspect of our culture, every aspect of our lives, to the type of music that's coming out. If you look around your room, everything has some kind of symbolic resonance. And so astrology helps to give us a language for that symbolic resonance.
Okay. I like this. It's fascinating. I remember years ago when I used to get the Sunday paper, which I don't know that do people still do? Is there a Sunday paper? Because I haven't gotten it. Or the daily newspaper. I think I do see it in some people's driveways, but I remember being younger, growing up, even in high school, I'd be like get excited to open up and see what the daily astrology. Now, of course, with their social media, which there wasn't when I was younger, but that's what I used to go off of. Being a Scorpio, I would sit and look at, oh my gosh, what's going to happen for me today or for this week. And what I learned over my years of life is that talking to other people, let's say that were Scorpios like me and born in the month of, or actually it's not a month, it's end of October till the end of November. Some people weren't like me at all, but other people were exactly like me. So then when I, in my 20s, I learned about astrology charts and I realized it's so much more than the day that you were born. Like my cousin is also is a Scorpio and she's born in the end of October. She doesn't have my personality at all. And I consider myself like a true blue Scorpio, but she's more like someone else. So talk about what that means and why that is. And I've asked people, have you had your chart done? They're like, what does that mean? So explain to people what an astrology chart even is.
Yeah, such a great question. And, sun sign astrology, so the horoscope that you read for your particular sun sign, was actually started to sell newspapers. So they were doing their job.
No way.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, astrology was always the study of, you're of a chart. It was always or it has been for a long time, a study of a chart. So a chart, your natal chart, maps out where all the planets were, and we work with some asteroids and some other chart points, where those were at the time of your birth, and it places them in a big circle. With lots of lines. One of my clients the other day said it looked like a ball of yarn.
That's so true. It does.
Yeah. And those lines are aspects. So the chart shows where the planets were at the time of your birth, based on where you are as the center of the universe. You are the center of your own universe. And then the aspects show different ways that the planets relate to one another. And we can look at those planets as different parts of our personality. They relate to physical characteristics and physical body parts, health. We can see all kinds of things in a chart. We can even look at family dynamics. I know this is something that you're really interested in and that you talk a lot about. We can see those family constellations in the chart and see how they shape our lives and how they evolve over time. So it's a very deep, complex process. And anyone who's coming to astrology thinking it's a pseudoscience or that it's just, based on sun sign, like anyone who's coming to it and just having read their horoscope in the paper or on social media, isn't going to get the depth of meaning that you would get by really understanding all of those different symbols.
So true. What's fascinating to me is you can take a newborn baby and you will look at where they were born, what city and state, and then what time they were born. And you can literally show the type of personality they're going to have, the type of job they're probably going to have, and what else? Like, what else can you actually look at and predict from a chart?
Sure. Really, you see the bigger themes. So sometimes, I think we are in a co-creative process. I love to believe that we work with our destiny and that we work with our future and that we make choices to bring out the best potentiality in our charts that are represented in our charts. But, you can tell a lot of those things. You can see certain talents, natural talents. You can see potential health challenges. And you can also, I mean, for any parent, you can see, how can I best support my child with their
Mhm.
education? How can I best help them live into this, the potential of their chart? And then, sometimes as a parent, you can also see where you might be challenging for your child.
Oh yeah, because you can compare charts
Yeah,
together.
you
I've
can. And
I've had that done, and it's
have you really?
fascinating. Yeah, and my husband and I, we had our charts compared. I've had people look at my kids' charts and my chart. It's it's unbelievable. I'm like, oh my gosh, and I always ask, like, how do they know so much? And it literally, this is what I'm saying. It's not even woo woo. It's just, yes, well, this is who they are, and this is your chart. This is why you're colliding in these areas, and this is why you get along so well in these other areas. So these are the things you need to work on. It's like, oh my gosh, crazy. It's
Yes, yeah.
crazy.
And it's kind of like, we study weather patterns, we study economic cycles, we study all of these predictive things in our everyday lives. If you're a meteorologist and you see a cold front coming in, then okay, I should probably, tell everyone to bundle up. Um, Astrology is similar. We
Mhm.
have these planetary cycles repeat themselves over and over and over again. And every time a cycle repeats itself, certain things are happening on Earth. And we have tracked this over thousands and thousands of years.
Mm,
And so and so we're able to look at economic cycles, at what's happening in the government. We're able to look at even climate change and some of the problems that we are facing in our world right now. We're able to look at that in relation to where things are, and then go back in history and see where when other times were these conditions present, the astrological conditions present, and what were we doing in response to the world events that were happening then.
mm,
It's
mhm.
really a powerful tool that, like you said, most people don't really, they dismiss it, or it's not
Right.
really considered. And one of the things that I work with people from all different backgrounds, all different ranges of experience. I work with CEOs. I work with, people who are making big decisions that affect our culture.
Mm.
And, and not a lot of people know that astrology is in Wall Street. It is in government. It is in all of these places where people are making decisions, because it's recognized as a tool that can help us, that can help shape our culture. And I think we're going to see that more and more over the next several years as some of these planetary cycles start to unfold. 2023 is actually really significant for that. So
Ooh.
it's pretty much, it's divine timing that we are having this conversation
Oh
right
my
now.
God, I cannot believe you just said divine time. Do you know I say that all the time? I used to have that on my license plate, divine time, and I'm about to put it on my new car, divine. I cannot believe those words just came out of me. Anyway, another
No,
synchronistic
it's
moment.
synchronistic. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. All right, because I want to hear about some of the predictions that you have for us for 2023. Um, the other thing is, and I don't know how far we want to go down this, but I want to comment on what you were saying, that you work with CEOs and companies and things like that. I have a friend, honestly, that I was talking to her like a year ago, I remember, and I said, "Oh, you're going to sell your house?" And she was in Nashville, and she goes, "Yeah." She goes, I was at her house, and I go, "Well, when are you going to put it on the market? It looks like it's ready to go." She goes, "Yes, I'm going to wait till whatever the date was." It was like April 23rd. It's going on the market. I'm like, "Why are you waiting till April 23rd?" She goes, "Because my astrologist told me I had to wait till this date to put the house on the market." She ended up waiting, and boom, of course, the house sold immediately, right? And she says, "Oh, yeah, I asked my astrologer everything." And then I talked to her again a few months later. She goes, "Yeah, I have to have surgery. My astrologer told me to have surgery." And I know I've asked you about this. I remember years ago I had called you and I go, "Wait, I have to have surgery. When are the best times for surgery?" And you actually, so it's fascinating. I didn't even think about how many corporations would use this, or CEOs, or again, you can use astrology for just about everything.
Right.
We will not do a live event when Mercury is in retrograde because I worry as I'm speaking, because one of the things with that is that they don't, of course, contracts but the communication is off. I'm like, I really want people to be able to hear me clearly and take in what I'm saying. So I will not do a live event. And we look at the calendar and I'll say, okay, we're going to book this event on this date, and I'm like, okay, how's Mercury in retrograde? My team's like, we're clear. I'm like, okay, we can put on that date.
Oh, that's really good. I think if more businesses and more states, cities, governments, if we would work with the cycles of nature instead
Yes.
of against them, then we wouldn't have a lot. I think personally, we wouldn't have a lot of the problems that we have right now with how
Yeah.
we abuse nature, and how we've dismissed it as important. And so from an act, I'm also a little bit of an activist and an environmentalist.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I'm really aware of is how much my understanding of astrology and an understanding that we're part of these incredible cycles, the cosmic cycles, natural cycles, earthly cycles, that we are all living and breathing and moving in a collective whole. That we're that,
Mm.
you know that everything affects everything else. And so astrology really connects. It's about space, right?
Mhm.
But ultimately it brings us to a place of presence on the earth. And I think it helps me to understand the earth as a planet too. So and I can see some things have shifted a lot since
Mhm.
I started my practice in 2006. And at the time I was in Nashville, as
Mhm.
you know. And
Mhm.
at the time, nobody knew what astrology. It was like very, very underground. I was one of two astrologers in the entire state who was certified. Yes, yes,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And then everything started shifting right around 2012. And
Oh,
now
yeah. Mhm.
and now it's more it's not quite mainstream, but it's more mainstream, and more
Mhm.
people are recognizing its values. And I personally think it's all because of our Scorpios.
Yay. You're welcome. Oh, I love that. Why is that? Why do you think it's because of our Scorpios?
I was kind of teasing, but actually, there's a generation that was born. I don't know technically. I think it's like late millennials,
Mhm. Mhm.
who were born with Pluto and Scorpio.
Mhm.
And Scorpio is the sign, as you know, that's interested in uncovering the truth that's beneath the surface. You
So
want to
true.
you want to
Mhm.
go into the dark caverns and
Yep.
and find the gold. And Scorpio is also related to mysteries of the Eleusinian mysteries of death and
Mhm.
rebirth, and why things are the way they are, and understanding the human psyche. And so you have this whole generation of people who were born who are now in their early 30s, who were raised with these questions, and they're all adults now, has starting their own families out in the world. And they're the ones I credit their generation for really opening us up. They
Mhm.
were raised in a time when therapy was normalized.
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
and so yeah, so I think that the Pluto and Scorpio generation is really, and Scorpio also relates to the what we call occult sciences. And I'm not
Mhm.
talking about cults, and I'm not
No.
occult sciences are really anything that brings us into, like I said, the dark hidden places, any of those mysterious places of scorpionic things.
I love it. Hmm.
Mhm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to some I know you have my chart. Do you have a
Yes,
paper version or is
I
it all on your computer?
it's on my computer, but
Okay.
I can share my screen if you would like.
I just wanted people to see, for those of you watching on YouTube, if you wanted to see what an actual chart looks like. I wanted to get a few predictions about just our planet or the United States or even the planet. And then, of course, you can disclose a few things happening with my chart. So
Oh,
you want to start with the 2023 and then you can go to my chart and show people what my chart looks like?
sure, sure. I would love that. So 2023 is a significant year because between 2023 and 2026, people aren't going to believe I'm going to say this, but the entire our whole culture is in a huge transition, a huge 180 shift.
Mm-hmm.
And what's happening is the planet Pluto is moving into Aquarius. Now, Pluto takes 248 years to go around the zodiac, and it stays in,
Wow.
yeah, it does. I know it's a long time. And it stays in one sign from anywhere from 14 to 30 years. It has a strange orbit. And when it moves into a sign, everything related to that sign goes through, it's like Pluto takes a wrecking ball to it
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and shakes it up and then forces us to look and say, okay, how are we going to rebuild this area of our culture? So think about in 2008, Pluto entered Capricorn.
Ooh.
Capricorn, yes, yeah. Capricorn is the sign. You know something about this because I just saw it all click for you. You're like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
understand this.
I'm thinking of 2008. Yeah.
Right? It was
Yeah.
the mortgage crisis. It was the
Yeah.
Occupy Wall Street movement. It was a total crash. Well, Capricorn is related to hierarchical systems. So patriarchy
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
would fall into that.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Um, banking,
Mm-hmm.
uh, property boundaries. Actually, when Pluto has been in Capricorn in the past, in the 1500s and the 1200s, and again in the 1700s, we've had a lot of colonization of people going to different parts of the world and putting down their flag. And then Pluto enters Aquarius, and Aquarius it's going to start on March 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
It dips into Aquarius from March 23rd to July, or to hang on one second, where is it? Oh wait, March 23rd to June 11th.
Uh-huh.
And then so we get a little flavor of what's to come in
Mm-hmm.
2024, and it
Mm-hmm.
fully enters into Aquarius in 2024. I cannot stress enough how important this shift is, because just like in the 1700s, this was the time of the American Revolution. So we can look back at that and say, what was happening? Well,
Mm-hmm.
it was also the French Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a restructuring of power that brought more power to the people. And think about what's happening right now with, land and housing prices. This is a big talking point right now. We have a huge unhoused population.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do with the effects of climate change? I'm not a doomsday person. I'm a very much of an optimist. But right now, all of the challenges that we're facing have to do with that hierarchical, system
Yeah.
where the people at the top have the most privilege, and then the people at the bottom are left to fend for themselves. Well, Aquarius is the sign of oneness. It's the sign of community, where we don't see ourselves as separate.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very strange sign, because on the one hand, it's individualism. It's I'm going to do what I want to do,
Mm-hmm.
but it's I want to do what I want to do in service of the whole.
Oh, wow.
Me being my best self is the best way I can serve the whole and contribute to the collective.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to see a lot of, we're going to see over the next 2 years, I think, ways that people are coming together, ways that we're creating more community responses to things like homelessness, to to climate crisis, to healing.
Mm-hmm.
That's another big thing about 2023, is that Saturn's going to be in Pisces, which is really the sign. It's a sign that relates to spirituality. It relates to healing. And we've all lived through this collective trauma,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're all in a collective grief.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we're going to have new responses to prioritize our mental health and our well-being.
Mm,
And so this is part of a shift that's happening too, where we're really moving from a culture of hustle, got to do it, got a side job, got to, to establishing our sense of inherent worth based on the fact that we're just all humans in this thing together.
mm.
So that's a
Wow.
little snapshot of what's coming down the road.
So what do you when you look at astrology, and I don't know how if you look at a chart of the world or United States or what, but do you see a recession coming or what do you think about a recession?
Yes. Yes. So there are actually really trackable economic cycles,
Mhm.
and these are it's like we were talking about before. This is not woo woo.
Yeah,
You can see like the economic cycles line up with the lunar nodes, which are these 2 points, and
yeah,
it's predictable. Every 18 years, there's a shift. There's a high,
yeah.
there's a low. Every 9 years, every 18 years, there's a high. Every 18 years, there's a low. And we had that lunar node shift this year
Mhm.
that moves us into one of the lower parts of the economy. But it's not here yet. So I think 2023 is sort of that wake up call
Mhm.
to where we really reestablish our priorities. It's like we're still rebuilding from COVID.
Yeah.
There's still, there's inflation, yes. I
Mhm.
think inflation is going to slow down and steady this year.
Mhm. Oh, good. That's good to
Yeah,
hear.
we might see it a little bit more in 2026, but 2025, 2026, I think is going to be a critical year. That late 2025 into 2026 is going to be a really critical year for the global economy. That is right now we're kind of floating a little bit, so we're
Yeah.
not fully in a recession, but 2025, 2026, I think um, could mark, a time when you want to just be prepared. So
You're seeing it maybe go into a recession then, you're saying? Okay.
yes, yeah, yeah.
Mm,
And then things
okay.
bounce back in 2026. It's like we're in a whole new world.
Mm,
We really are. I mean, Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth. We really are in a new world. Between now and 2026, three outer planets will be changing signs, and we haven't seen that kind of the times when we see three outer planets changing signs because they move so slowly,
mhm.
they have been marked with big shifts, and usually there is a war that does this. So the American Revolution, for
Mhm.
example, the
Mhm.
Civil War, um, these are like big before and after kinds of experiences. I'm not predicting a war. I am a pacifist. I think we always have the choice to choose diplomacy
Mhm.
and justice. Um, and at the same time, there's going to be something coming that
Yeah.
shakes us up, to where we cannot go back to the way we've been before.
Yeah. I have heard from other people too, 2026, it's like something big shifts.
Huge. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
COVID was big, and we had, Pluto and Saturn coming together in a big 35-year cycle,
Yeah.
and that's big. But Saturn and Neptune are going to be meeting in 2026, February 2026, at the world point, that 0 degrees Aries point, which affects the entire globe, the whole world.
Wow.
So, and I actually have a lot of hope for, it's funny. I mean, I'm looking forward to that and thinking, right now is the time when all of the people who are who want to help others, who want to be in service.
Yeah.
I mean, in a woo-woo way, we might call them the light workers. It's a
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
it's a time when all of those people, all of us, we're
Mhm. Mhm.
all getting into our positions and saying, okay,
We're
here's what I'm
ready.
called. We're ready.
Yeah.
Let's usher in a whole new way of thinking, a whole new way of relating,
Mm.
a way of understanding power
Mhm.
in our culture. And I think that there's enough of us who are bringing the light and who are carrying the torch
Mhm.
that that we're gonna really sail into that new beginning.
I love that. I have a coaching program, I think, and this is what I say. And the people that are in it say that they feel this energy. And what I say that we are creating is an army of light warriors. Like we're
Ooh,
here, got the goosebumps,
yes,
right?
I do. Yes, I got goosebumps.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
so it's so interesting that you're saying that because I do feel like I feel this call to create this. I felt the call to create the program and then to bring, and this is why I say to every single person, I'm like, I'm not here to sell you. If you don't feel the call, do not join us. But we are creating an army of people that can go all around the world and help bring more light onto this planet. It's so needed.
I
One
know.
quick question before we jump, and I know you're going to touch on a few things with my chart, but war of Ukraine or war in Ukraine, is that going to end this year in
Mm-mm.
2023?
Yeah, I think so it is I think we have some hope for that, for there being some diplomatic movement and some resolutions. I think there's some hope for that in the summer.
Okay,
Um,
good.
but between now and May, I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of change. And in fact, I think it could, when Jupiter is in Aries, which it has been, since it's been in Aries, we've had a lot more just gun issues, violence,
Yes.
or and what I find with Jupiter is that it expands our under, it like blows things up in a way that we have to pay attention.
Yeah.
And then after that transit we find solutions. And so I think there's hope in the summer.
By the sun. Thank God. It breaks my heart. I can't read or watch it, but yet I want to stay informed. And I just pray for these people in Ukraine. It's horrifying to see this. That's good news. Okay, shifting gears. I know we
Yes.
have a few minutes left. I don't know what's coming. So please, anything you
Okay.
want to share? And if you want to share your screen, you certainly can for those that are watching on
Sure.
YouTube. Yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
And just and there's not a way that I can hide your birth date data information. Is that okay?
I don't care.
Okay. Okay.
Put myself out there. It's fine.
Uh, oh my gosh, you're amazing. Okay, here we go. Oh, can I,
Yeah.
is
Oh,
it,
sorry. I got to share
that's
screen.
okay.
Hold on a second. Wait, how do I do that? I got to give you screen. Hold on a second. I think I can do that. How about now?
Okay,
Does that work?
great.
Oh, here we go.
And is
Woo!
that correct? Do I have everything correct?
Yep.
All
I'm
right, good.
30. Here we go.
Yay. Okay. So these are each one of these symbols represents a different planet,
Mhm.
or some of these are asteroids. I work with the goddess asteroids,
Mhm.
and so I can point out a few things. So this is the moon relates to our it relates to our emotions. It relates to our subconscious self. It is I call it the soft, squishy part of us.
Mhm.
And your moon is right out here front and center, which is excellent for someone who has a podcast, who's acting and speaking and having a public persona. But
Mhm.
also Aquarius is the sign of the humanitarian and the healer,
Mm.
or
Mhm.
the helper.
Yeah.
The moon relates to, what do I need to feel fulfilled, and the feeling of giving back, the feeling of being of service, is there.
That's me. That sounds right.
Now
Love
let's
it.
look at your Scorpio planets. So
There are a
the
lot of Scorpio over there in
yes,
that part. Oh my
yes, you
goodness.
do. You've got Mercury, the Sun, and Neptune. And the sun, so the sun represents our kind of our healthy ego. It's that sense of who I am and how I shine my light in the world. So
Mm.
it reflects our natural talents, our interests. And the fact that your Mercury and your Sun are in the same sign shows a real congruence in terms of your internal dialogue is very similar to how you express yourself.
Yep.
and that Mercury in Scorpio wants to go deep. It wants to probe the depths.
Always.
Uh-huh.
The deeper we can go, the better.
Exactly. Now I want to show you your here we'll go to current transits. So this is one way we can work with astrology, is we can see your natal chart and those natural tendencies, just like we saw right here.
Mm-hmm.
But we can also see how the planets in the heavens today are activating the potential in your chart. And isn't that cool?
Yeah.
So a couple of things stand out to me. First of all, Saturn right over here. So Saturn is this little planet here.
Mm-hmm.
It's the planet of discipline, responsibility. It's the planet of commitment, stick to it. And it's moving right over this very sensitive point in your chart called the ascendant. This is a representative of the eastern horizon at the time of your birth. And Saturn stays in one house for about 2.5 years. And when it crosses into the first house, it's like you start asking yourself the question of, who do I want to be in the world? And so often we change the way we look. So you might get a style change. You might have a new brand offshoots of your career. You might make a move.
When is this happening?
This is happening right now. It's like,
that's so funny. We're doing a brand like refresh. We're just like sort of refreshing. And my friend just took me out shopping. She's like, she's a stylist. She goes, "You're getting a new look." And I was like, "What?" I swear to God. This literally just happened a few weeks ago. I was like, okay. And she brought me out and holy moly. She's like, "You need a new style." I was like, okay, let's go.
Amazing. Yep.
That's so crazy. And I could feel it on the inside. So that's interesting. You say that. Wow.
Yeah. And sometimes people have health situations during that Saturn transit, but it's all because if I think Saturn gets us to sit still and really be discerning about where we're going in our lives. Saturn relates to our reputation and how known, our career too. And so Saturn, sometimes when we have health issues under a Saturn transit, it is for the purpose of standing still, going within, and really fine-tuning that sense of our finding our own inner compass and navigating in a new way.
Wow.
And
that's
so
cool.
So it's a big shift. It's a really big shift.
That's so crazy. I feel it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
This was phenomenal. I mean, we could sit forever, but I know we got to end here. So thank you so much, Rachel. Where might people find you?
My email, or my website rather, is rachellangastrologer.com.
We will put that in the show notes for those of you that would like to check Rachel out, maybe have an astrology reading, because she's phenomenal. So thank you so much, my dear. It was awesome to be with you today. Thank you.
Thank you.